Hello, and welcome to our Cloud Data Governance Catalog, CDGC, for Cloud MDM Customer 360 Requirements Discovery presentation. In today's presentation, we're going to talk about why we want to pair data governance with Cloud MDM, what the 9 different requirements are for gathering MDM requirements, and which assets in Cloud Data Governance Catalog are used for these 9 different requirements that we're going to be gathering. And then we'll take a look at some accelerators that are available to speed up your journey to gathering MDM requirements with the cloud. And then we'll take a look at some best practices and some other samples that are available for this journey. After that, we'll do a short demo, and then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So as you can see by the quote that we have here and the link that I have to that quote, this is from the MDM Institute back in 2012 and 2013. So that's over 10 years ago that this quote was made. So for years, we've known that data governance is critical to achieving sustainable and effective MDM. Failure to execute data governance concurrently with an MDM program greatly decreases the probability of success and economic sustainability of MDM programs. And I can attest to this. 6 years ago, before I joined Informatica, I was the senior enterprise architect, and my first initiative was an MDM strategy. And we found out that in the previous years, the company had tried to stand up MDM before, and it fell over. They tried to stand up data governance before, and it fell over. But it was only once we combined MDM with data governance that we were actually successful in moving that strategy forward and that initiative. So the 9 different requirements that we're going to take a look at today for gathering MDM requirements using our Cloud Data Governance Catalog data governance tool is, first of all, we need to identify the business domains or the data subjects that we want to master and all of the fields within those data subjects. So we can use our MDM 360 data model that is out of the box with our MDM system, and we can identify from that what attributes we want to use, what tables we want to use, and what additional tables or attributes we need to add to that out-of-the-box model based on the way that we do business. So we can update that out-of-the-box model and send that back to our database administrator, our MDM database administrator, to make the changes in the actual data model, but we'll document it and we'll get all of the approval of those decisions that we're making about the data model here in our Cloud Data Governance Requirements tool. So after we've identified the data that we want, we then have to identify the source systems where we're going to obtain that data from. And then identify the mechanisms that are going to feed it to MDM for mastering. In that mechanism for moving the data from the source systems to the MDM system for mastering, we'll be applying some data quality and transformation rules to standardize the data and make sure that it's the best possible quality of data to ensure that the matches actually take place. Along with applying the data quality and transformation rules, oftentimes we use lookup tables or reference data in conjunction with those data quality rules. So not only do we want to document the out-of-the-box data quality rules, or not out-of-the-box quality rules, but the out-of-the-box reference data that comes with our MDM 360 model, but again, we want to identify the additional reference data that is germane to your business. Once we've identified the data, where it's coming from, and how to move it to MDM and apply the rules and the reference data to it, we then can identify the match rules and the trust scores for mastering that data and coming up with that best record. We also want to be able to identify the householding and other relationships that we're going to create with our master data. So we could be talking about family relationships in the case of like medical insurance processing, where different family members are covered under the same policy. Or we could also do a friends and family type of relationship in like an internet service provider or a cell phone service provider scenario, where it's not just the immediate family, but it can include relatives and also just friends and neighbors as well. Now, those are person-to-person relationships. We can also identify business-to-business relationships or business-to-consumer relationships. So again, in the case of a medical scenario, you may have a person and you want to be able to identify all the various providers that are providing services for that person. So that would be more of a consumer to business relationship. Once we have those identified and we have mastered records, we then want to share those mastered records to downstream systems so they can consume those mastered records. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a downstream system. It could be an analytics report that someone's trying to create. It could be a data scientist that's looking at a set of data to do data scientist work with, or it could be the individual person that's requesting their own data. So we need to set up the systems and integration techniques for consuming those mastered records. And we can document that again in our Cloud Data Governance Catalog tool. Once we have the downstream systems and the consumers identified for the mastered records, because we are sharing data outside of our MDM system, and we could be sharing it with external third parties, not just internally, we need to make sure that we have some data sharing agreements in place to say how they're going to use the data, when they're going to use it, for how long, what purpose they can use it for, and so on. And also we want to be able to identify different masking rules and other privacy policies and security measures that need to be applied to the data before we can share it out to the third parties or even internally. So those are the 9 different steps that we're going to be walking through in this presentation on how to gather these requirements using our Cloud Data Governance tool. Now, in our Cloud Data Governance tool, the assets that we have available to us today are, as you can see in the purple boxes here, these are the glossary items. These are the business definitions of the master data subject, and then the elements or attributes that make up that subject. So those would be transformed into glossary domains, subdomains, business terms, metrics, and then again, that reference data would be its own separate hierarchy alongside of that customer data, alongside of the MDM 360 hierarchy. So the reference data kind of lives separately as a separate hierarchy, and then we can relate that data back and forth between the 2 glossary hierarchies. We want to identify the data sets that are going to be used to provide this data. And so the data set asset is going to be identified the physical data that's represented in those out-of-the-box 360 MDM tables. And again, all the additional tables that we want to have for the way that we do business, or identify the tables that we are never going to use, again, based on the way that we do business. The data quality rules are also captured in our CDGC in the data quality facet. And then the source systems, our 360 system itself, and the consuming systems are also identified as the system assets. And then all of those match rules, trust rules, record retention rules, security measure rules, other privacy policies, and those data sharing agreements, those are all different kinds of policies that we can then use the policy asset for. So now the rest of the team is going to take over and walk through each one of those 9 steps to gather the MDM requirements.
Thank you, Lisa. In the step 1, we will identify the business data to master based on MDM 360 data model. We will document additions and subtractions from the out-of-the-box C360 data model. On the right diagram, we will have a hierarchy that party associated with different assets such as person, organization, or address. Party hold the address, and the address has its own element. Party holds email and all the information. We can see it on the right side of the diagram. We have party on the top and many access associated with it below. We will see more during the demo. By using CDCG definition along with workflow mechanism, we can socialize the domain, subdomain, business term, and metrics with stakeholder and capture comments, agreement, disagreement, and approval in CDGC. The benefits for this is no more searching through email, meeting minute, spreadsheet, and so on to find historical revision to the definition and approved definition. So this will help stakeholders save a lot of time.
After we identify business domains and data subjects we want to master, as well as what we need to add to the model, the next step is to update the out-of-the-box MDM 360 data model. We can update the model with name changes to reflect the specific organization. We can add additional tables, as well as additional attributes to existing tables in the model. Any updates with new definitions are documented within the governance tool, keeping historical record of change. When making a change to a given asset, a workflow process would begin to gain approval from asset stakeholders. The approval, disapproval, or discussion related to the change are documented within a single workflow, giving a historical record to the document approval and deletions. If we want to exclude something that's in the MDM 360 data model, we can mark that item as deleted, again, using the workflow process to ensure the stakeholders that we really want to delete the item from the model.
Thank you, Tim. Step 3 is to identify source systems that will eventually be fed into MDM for mastering. It's recommended that the system and interface assets are used to document this flow of data from the ingress systems through the staging area and ultimately into the MDM repository. The CDCG workflow system is able to be used to approve changes to the system and interfaces. Finally, one benefit of CDGC is that you can see a graphical lineage display of how the data moves between these systems. Andrew will continue with step 4.
In step 4, we will identify data quality and transformation rules as we move data from source system to the MDM system. In this below pictures, we can see that there are 2 data quality rules that have been created for the business term amount. The rule is not null DQ rule and also greater than 0 DQ rule. The best practice for this is use the CDGC data quality facet to capture the quality business rules, then transform the rule into technical data quality rules via the CDGC to CDQ integration. The benefits for this is the semi-automation of rule generation starts from the business perspective. Step 5 is to identify reference data to use with the business definition and data quality rules. The best practice for this is use to separate reference data hierarchies in the CDGC glossary facets to establish example of each type of reference data. Only put a sample of values in CDGCs and the actual operational value are held in data quality table or reference 360 if available. So in this one, you can see that the country business term will have reference data glossary domain associated with the country codes glossary subdomain and country business term associated with postal address glossary subdomain and party glossary domain. So you can find it in the relationship in the CDGC. So the benefit for this is the reference data is available at your fingertip as you review the main business definition and data quality rules.
Thank you, Andrew. Step 6 is to identify match rules and trust scores. Best practice is to upload policy assets to document these rules. The match rules will document which fields match on, and trust scores will be used to show the precedence of the source as one determining survivorship. As with other assets, the workflow mechanism can be used for stakeholders to approve these changes. A benefit is that these rules are captured with the rest of the requirements that are related to glossary, so that if there are changes to glossary, the relationship between these match rules and trust scores and the glossary shouldn't be impacted. Andrew will continue with step 7.
The step 7, we will identify householding and order relationship. We will use CDGC glossary to glossary relationship to type person to organization, person to other person, like son, daughter, parent, grandparent, and professional relationships, such as financial consultant to investor and so on. It's going to be glossary to glossary relationship. Then you can invite all stakeholders to approve to do household or person to relationship. Then you will have it all documented. The benefit for this is allow the business to work out the relationship and get approvals from stakeholder before implementing relation rule in MDM. So the picture below show the diagram of party, person, and organization, and the household for this is gonna be daughter, father, grandfather, grandmother, mother, and son.
Our next step is to identify systems that will be used to consume the master records. Once we have the master data in CDGC, we can then share the data with other systems, both internal and external. In this diagram, we see the mastered CDGC data can be shared with an internal system ingested into a corporate data lake, and it can be shared with a third-party vendor, SurveyMonkey. As we design the interfaces between systems, we used workflow process to include IT teams as stakeholders to sign off on the techniques used to transfer data from CDGC to consuming systems. And finally, as we are potentially sharing this data with third parties, it is critical that we identify all data sharing agreements, masking rules, security measures, or other privacy policies in place that need to be implemented both internally and externally. To do this, we use the policy facet to relate glossaries, systems, and interfaces to these measures used to transform data for consumption. We establish policies here like record retention and security measures as they apply to the C360 system. And again, we use the workflow process to gather approval from stakeholders and ensure correct policies are in place. Now that we have discussed the 9 steps to gather Cloud MDM requirements, we will now move into the demo portion of our presentation. First, Andrew will demonstrate how to ingest the system asset into CDGC using the bulk upload method. Matt will then show us how to create relationships between those systems within CDGC. And last, we'll look at the different methods we can use to assign stakeholders to those created assets.
Thank you, Tim. This demo is part of the process of gathering MDM to CDGC. There are 3 parts of the demo. I'm going to perform the first part of the demo for using bulk upload to load the system access into CDGC. Let's get up with logging to the IICS environment. After logging to the IICS environment, we click to the data governance and catalog. Then on the left side, choose New. In the New panel, we scroll down and click to download the pool upload template. In the Open tab, there are many options such as business term, datasets, domain. We're gonna scroll down to choose the system. And then we click Download. You can see the template for it is on the bottom right, bottom left. You can click on it, or you can navigate to download folder and find the Excel file named template. Open the template spreadsheet. I already opened it, so I will explain what information you need to fill in. After opening the system template, you will see the red title in many columns. You have to fill all information in this column to perform the bulk upload. They are name, description, reference ID, and class type. First, you can fill the name of the system access, and then its description. Then you can assign the reference ID. Reference ID is used to identify the access. You will use this field in the relationship and stakeholder pool upload templates. There are 2 ways to find the information for class type. When you move your mouse next to the class type column, a node appears next to it. To open the node, right-click to the class type and choose Edit Node. Then you can copy the information after the please enters under the type of object. And then you can paste this under the class type column here. The alternate way to do is get into the IICS the home page, click on the question mark or help, then go to online help. Then you navigate to the pull upload access and then template file property. Click to the system and you will find all required information here. Navigate to class type. You can copy the information after enters and before to indicate. And then you can pay to the asset type, class type column right here. So after filling all the required column in the spreadsheet, you can click Save to save it and then close it. Then you navigate back to the IICS. Now we're going to do the pull upload, click New, and scroll down for the pull upload file. And then click Browse. Then choose the sample source system. Open it, click Next. Please make sure that the entity type is entity and then entity subtype is system. Then you can next. And then you can click import. I'm not gonna click in the import because the system access has been uploaded before, so I'm not gonna do it. But if you're gonna do it, you're gonna wait a little bit. And then you can navigate back to home and under the job right here, if your pull upload process is running, so the running is display 1, but if it completed, then the completed will be increased by 1 and the running go to 0. And then you can see, you can check, the system upload if it's do it correctly. You can navigate to governance access, go to system. And from here, you can see all the system that you just uploaded here. Just navigate to the SFDC. And it's there. So that's all for the system access full upload process. I will hand over to Matt to demonstrate the process of uploading the relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'll continue this demo by uploading relationships as Cloud Data Governance and Catalog or CDGC. We'll start by clicking New and scroll down to Download Bulk Upload and Templates similar to the asset. And here we'll scroll all the way down to Additional Sheets and select Relationship. It'll require us to select an asset to download it, so in this case we'll select System since that's what we're working with. And if I didn't already have it downloaded, I would now click Download. I'll close this out and open up our filled out spreadsheet for relationships. So this is the relationship upload spreadsheet. Like the asset upload spreadsheet, it's got several mandatory fields and several optional fields. The mandatory in this instance are the source identity, target identity, and association. Source identity and target identity are simply the identity for that asset, and the association is the association type ID, which we can find in the documentation. So we'll open up the documentation, and under template file properties and relationships, you'll find supported values for relationship associations. This will bring up a lookup table where you can find the relationship type ID based on the source asset type and target asset type. So we'll scroll down to system to system. And we'll select the system data flow. So we can copy this relationship type ID. And we'll paste it here. The other columns are source asset type, and target asset type, and delete. The first two are just the asset type, and delete is a binary true or false value of whether or not you'd like to delete that relationship. So next we'll go back to Data Governance Catalog. Click New. And click Bulk Upload Files. We'll click Browse. Go to my documents. And here we can select the document that we've been working with. And click Next. This will upload the files, and it'll automatically know that it's a relationship file. We can't select a subtype. Click Next again, and now it'll give us the option to import. I'm not going to import right now. One, to save time, and two, because we already have it uploaded. So we'll just go back to Home and select System. We'll pull up MDM C360 as our system. And under Lineage, we'll be able to see the lineage diagram of the source systems feeding into MDM C360 and also the egress systems that are being fed from MDM C360. So that's the demo of uploading relationships to CDGC. I'll leave it to Tim for the stakeholder.
Thanks, Matt. Now that we've looked at how to upload an asset using the bulk upload method, and then create relationships between those systems, I will now demonstrate the two methods we can use to assign stakeholders to an asset. The first method we'll look at is using the bulk upload spreadsheet. To begin, we come up here to New in the top left, scroll down and select Download Bulk Upload Template. In this demonstration, we are assigning stakeholders to a system asset. So we check the box for system. Under additional sheets, we select stakeholders and we download an empty bulk upload template. For this demonstration, I will show you a completed template. Here, what we see are 6 different systems where each system has 4 stakeholders: Customer 360 Data Steward, Customer 360 Manager, Governance Administrator, and Governance User. So now that we have a completed spreadsheet, the next step is to upload and assign stakeholders to the asset. To do that next step, we will return to CDGC, select New, and we'll select Bulk Upload Files. We will select the sample data we just looked at and proceed through this wizard. Now, in a normal instance, what we would do is select Import Now to assign stakeholders. On this instance, stakeholders have already been assigned. So what we'll do next is show you how stakeholders are used with that asset. So we'll return home. Under Governance Assets, let's go to System, and let's look at Salesforce. On this overview page of the asset, we see stakeholder information to the right. To get more detailed info, we can select View Now or select the Stakeholders tab in the top ribbon. And what we see here are the 4 stakeholders assigned, as we saw on our bulk upload template. An alternative method to bulk upload is to assign stakeholders directly through the UI. To do that, we would go to a given asset stakeholder page and select the Addition button. Here we can add a user or a user group as a stakeholder. We can select a role, and from that role are eligible users listed below. These stakeholders are delegates that are responsible for managing any proposed additions, changes, or deletions for the asset. These tasks would be managed through the workflow inbox. This concludes our demonstration on CDGC. Back to you, Lisa.